We off in this place, catching vibes, sit back and we blaze in the sky like I'm out of space.
What's going on, Cigar World? What's going on, Cigar Enthusiasts? This is Jack, the Cigar Enthusiast, and we're back with another banger. Man, we got a special guest coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'll make his introduction here in a little bit, man. How's everybody doing, man? This is a great Sunday because at the end of the day, the Eagles got their butt spanked again. But, hey, on the bright side is they still ran the ball, you know. So that's the start. Running the ball is key to winning football games. Even though we didn't win, we were playing we're playing the Raiders. So, I mean, what do you expect, man? So, overall, I give their field performance a good go around. But at the end of the day, we got to step up. We got to do great things, man. With that being said, I'm Jack, the Cigar Enthusiast. I'm your host for today, man, on the virtual smoke deck. If you're new to the channel, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell, give us a huge thumbs up. And if you're watching for the first time on the virtual smoke deck, don't be the only one to have this wonderful content at your fingertips, man. Go ahead and hit that share button, create a watch party. Also go and like and follow our page as well. Man, make sure y'all go ahead and smash into those comment boxes, man. We are having a little, I wouldn't say difficulties. Difficulties is something that is not astute, that is not put forth correctly. We're not having technical difficulties, but we are on the slower side on our sharing part because of some last minute changes that happened into the schedule. But man, we're getting it going. We're getting it live and all that stuff, man. So yeah, as you guys come in, go ahead and hit that comment box and man, tell me what you think. Outside of that, man, we have a great episode in store for you today. A couple updates on not only Dapper D's, but everything we got going on. We are one step closer. When I say one step closer to revealing the location of our second store. That's going to be 4,000 square feet, and I'm going to just leave it there on that mark, and kind of put into context some other things that we have going on. So, with that being said, coming up, we have on Sunday. Well, let's start in the beginning of the day. Phonics has been out for a little while, simply due to the fact that they had some stuff going on. Some stuff they had going on and stuff like that. So they have been out a little while, but they're coming back again, and they're coming back on Saturday. So that's a big change. Like, they're usually on Fridays. They'll be coming back Saturdays on starting November 13th. So they'll be back then. Then on top of that, we have our trivia nights. Trivia nights is, going really, really strong, really, really good, man. So if you're into trivia in the Jacksonville area, what's up, my brother? What's up, my brother? We have some great things. Speaking of this guy, going into Sunday, DJ Al Pete will be in the building for our Mimosas and Stogies. So if you're not familiar with Mimosas and Stogies, how it works is we have live music, live entertainment, the whole shebang bang going on from 12 to 4 on Sunday. Bottomless mimosas, $12, man. It's a great freaking time. Not only that, you're having a wonderful time. So if you're in the building or you're in Jacksonville, go ahead and say what's up, and stop in and enjoy some social liberations with us. Outside of that, man, Glenn, what's up, my brother? What is up, my brother? So a couple things also going on, right? Not only are we getting ready for the revealing of our next store, but we're also getting ready for our holiday stuff and all our whole 9 yards, and having live performances on Christmas, man. What's up, Lige? What's up, Drew? My guy. I see y'all. We have some live music coming on for Christmas and all that good stuff. So I mean, it's gonna be a great time. So if you're in the Christmas, if you're in Jacksonville during the Christmas area, man, Christmas time frame, man, come see us. It's gonna be super dope. So outside of that, man, our guest of honor today, man, is a guy that's really, really passionate. Not only, here we go with this. Hey, yeah, y'all won. Y'all have a really good team for once in a blue moon, right? So let's just stick to, having your celebrations, but we don't have to get irate with our celebrations now, okay? Like, we know y'all won. Y'all beat us down. I actually have your kicker on my fantasy football team, so I needed him to kick the ball a couple times anyway. So, yeah, don't get too out of control. You're starting to sound like a freaking Cowgirl fans, and y'all know how I feel about them. Big Bulge in the house, man. My brother, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. So, yeah. Our guest of honor today, man, is a guy that's really doing his damn thing, man. I'm actually smoking on one of his newest projects, the Series E, and hands down one of those cigars that is killing it. Hey, we're not even gonna go there, bro. We're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. What's up, Sebastian? My brother. So. I'm smoking on the Series E, which is one of the newer selections that just came out. That and the Fiat Lux, and then they have another one called the La Promesa. No, not a Promesa. It didn't even have a Z in it. Promesa. Man, I'll let all that fun stuff come out, and I'll let John correct us on the terminology. But man, we are doing great things, man, and I'm super excited, man. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time, right? I think hands down this brother is doing it. I remember my first time smoking one of their cigars. It was just 10 out of 10, and that was the Henley LaGrange, man. And I ended up bringing that cigar particularly in. It may not sell that well here, but I brought it in just because I love the damn cigar. So we're super excited about everything that this brother is doing. And everything he has going on, man. And, he's rising to the tops and going to be rising to the tops real soon. So without further ado, introducing our guest, Jon Huber. Wait a minute. So John just had some technical difficulties. He came out in the background. So we're going to reach out to John real quick. And figure out what happened. Well, anyway, hey, guess what we do? We improvise, man. So I haven't did in a long time is a business talk and a cigars and business talk. And what cigars and business talk is, it allows us to dive into business while obviously smoking a cigar. So the complexity of the conversation and in-depthness of the conversation over the course of the time since we had a podcast has really went into the instrumental phases of business, right? Understanding how to write a business plan, understanding the connections you need in banking and different things of that nature. Those are the conversations that we had. So next week, we purposely did not book anybody for this particular reason, because we want to have a cigar and business talk podcast. So that's going to be next Sunday, man. We're going to dive into some things. I haven't really decided on the topic. I kind of figure that stuff out, maybe Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I'm like a pastor when it comes to this podcasting thing. It's just kind of on the fly and whatever the Lord tells me. Okay. But man, it looks like John was able to jump back on. So we're about to get this thing going, man. I gave him a great introduction, but I think he deserves another one, man. This brother is doing great things, man. Blending some of the greatest cigars out there. I'm smoking on a Series E, which is hands down one of my favorites of the blends that he released, not only in 2021, but it definitely goes up there with the Mil Diaz, the Henley LaGrange, the La Caution. I mean, you name it, it's not one cigar out there that's pretty much a bad cigar. So with that being said, introducing our guest of the hour, Jon Huber. What's up, champ?
What's going on, man? I'm sorry for the delay. I appreciate your patience.
Man, look, hey, when it comes to you, my brother, I'll let the delay happen, okay?
Thank you. This is like the second delay. The first one was from August to October, so you've been so kind. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Man, look, John, it's sometimes flexibility is everything, right? Being able to overcome and adapt is everything.
True.
In my personal opinion. So, that's just part of the equation. Overcome and adapt. Man,
I'm glad we finally made it happen. We got together, so it's good. This is good.
Man, definitely. But I'm kind of disappointed. You know why I'm disappointed? Because I expected one of those phenomenal Crown Heads hats that you have stashed away that has not been released to be, displayed for the first time on a virtual smoke deck.
Right.
And that is not what's happening. And now I kind of feel some type of way.
No, I'm sorry. I'll give you a scoop later on when we do this. It's a real little kind of story. But no, on my off days, it's like I need to take a little bit of a break from Jon Huber Crown Heads, right? So it's Sunday, so I just right now I don't have anything Crown Heads related on, so it's just a family day. So I just grab my family hat and support the Giants or whatever. So yeah, I know, but
that's kind of terrible because we're about to talk about Crown Heads. So if this is Sunday and we're not gonna talk about Crown Heads on this day, then we gotta go ahead.
I'd say right. This is Sunday.
What's up, sweetie? How you doing?
Say hi.
Hi.
This is AJ. This is my daughter AJ. She always wants to get on everything. So. Okay, let Daddy do his business. Okay, I love you. Be good. You said hi. Anyway, yes.
Man, no, that's. Hey, look. If it wasn't for the hey, when Daddy's alive, don't come in here talks. I'm pretty sure she'll come on and just like, hey.
Oh yeah, they love that. In fact, during the pandemic, like the heat of the pandemic, we did all of our Zoom calls, all our meetings, and I was home from March to August of 2020. And so this is the room where I actually did everything from. Yeah. And if I showed you the room itself, like this is only blank wall. Everything else is like Barbie. This is like AJ's. So if I'm borrowing her room, at least I could do is like share the screen time with her a little bit, So
man, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, John, more than anything, man, I do want to first, go out and say prayers go out to you and your family.
Thank you. Man.
I know the sacrifice. I'm not going to talk about the sacrifice, but I know the sacrifice that you have been making behind the scenes, and
thank you.
The tireless nights, not only building your brand, pushing your brand forward, but also being that great role model for not only your kids but your family too. So
thank you.
I want to give that to you.
That means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So John, man, I gave you a perfect introduction, right?
Okay.
And you missed a lot of it. So before we go into that, I want to go into your introduction. So introduce yourself to the world. I know people already know you, but just go ahead and make an introduction.
Jon Huber, creative director for Crown Heads, and glad to be here, man. That's all. I mean, I don't really, I don't live by business cards or titles or any of that stuff, and I don't have a title at Crown Heads. I never have, except for like really like co-owner / founder, whatever. But if somebody asked me to define my role there, and I said it's more akin to like, I'm not the master blender by any stretch of the imagination. I'm more like the creative director of a fashion house, of like LVHM or something like that. That's how I see myself. Or if you want to use a music analogy, I'm more like Rick Rubin, the producer that puts everything together, as opposed to like maybe Jay-Z, the artist, right? That would be the people at the factory that are the artisans. Yeah. So I'm more like the producer behind the mixing board, putting it together.
Man, John, I think your story is amazing. I tell people, and I have expressed this to you when we have talked before, my first introduction to Crown Heads was when I lived in Memphis.
Okay.
I want to say roughly 2014, 2015-ish. I picked up this cigar, right? My first one was the Henley LaGrange, or the Henley Grange.
It's just Henley Grange, yeah. Right? Okay.
So I smoked that one, loved it, right? And then I ran into this one cigar called the Tennessee Waltz, and I know you know all about it. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So the difference between the cigar is, it's not like this, like the Series E, right?
Mm-hmm,
it doesn't have anything that really pops outside the little orange band on it. So this release really was put out there as a Tennessee exclusive. It was something that went to the state, and then I, if I'm not mistaken, you did 2 more in some other states, and then obviously mass production wise, you only go to those states unless, with the exception of one day out of the entire year, which is when retailers from all over the world can buy it.
Right. So that is 100% correct. Yes.
So I smoked that cigar, right? Mm-hmm. And it just freaking blew my head away. Mm-hmm. And that's at that very moment, I became a Crown Head fan. So when I was able to talk to you in PCA, I had to keep my composure because I'm a cool cat, but I was excited. And then
you definitely come across as a cool cat for sure. Yeah.
I gotta keep it together. But I was a kid in a candy store.
Right.
And you know, to engage with you and talk with you in the level, and yeah, it was just undivided attention. It was just like, man, it wasn't like, oh, I never met this guy. Who is this guy? What's his account like? None of that. It was just like, oh man, that's amazing. So, man, so let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about the development of Crowned Heads and the creative mindset, as you stated, the producer aspect of Crowned Heads. What? How do I paraphrase the question? Again, this is my excitement coming out. What was the turning gear to say, hey, I'm going to do cigars, and I'm going to do cigars at this level?
Well, you know, you'd have to roll the clock back to like 1996 when I started with CAO, and I was part of a group of people that took CAO literally from like a basement to a global brand, and then it got sold and acquired by Henry Wintermans. Henry Wintermans gets acquired by STG. STG already owns General Cigars, so we get swallowed by the big fish. They go to Richmond, and here I am in 2010 going, I wonder what the next thing's going to be, right? So that's when I decided, like, I'm just going to just ride the wave all the way to the shore. I'm just going to stay with who brought me to the dance. And I remember a lot of people speculated what I was going to do afterwards. And I'm like, I really don't know. And I wasn't bullshitting. I was like, I didn't know, but I'm just going to be a faithful human being and know that God has a plan for me. And I'm just going to say, okay, it's in your hands, right? So I did that. Mike Condor, my boss at the time, approached me in the middle of 2010 and said, hey, do you want to do something when this thing is all over? I said, yeah. And that was as formal as it got. And so then when we get to the point where Mike and I, you know, decided to like actually sign contracts, this, that, and the other, you know, we had a name for the company, this and that. And that's when I told Mike, I said, I don't want to do CAO 2.0. If that's what you're in for, then I don't want to do this. But if you give me the creative latitude to do something different. And, you know, God bless him, he did. And so my mindset going forward was, using musical analogies, I wanted to create the group, and the band was going to be called Crowned Heads. And then every release was going to be different. It's going to be a different album. It's going to sound different. The cover art's going to be different. Everything. I wanted to have that latitude creatively to create under that Crowned Heads umbrella, because going back to my CIO days, everything was very derivative and repetitive, where you would have CAO Brasilia, CAO Italia, CAO America, CAO MX2, CAO Alex. So you see the pattern, right? Yeah. Well, I didn't want to have Crowned Heads. I wanted to have that, like, okay, this is going to be completely different than the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. And that's really the jumping off point for it, was that idea of having the band and then the different albums drop, and that they all will be different, so that you have 4 Kicks as the original. Then you have Headley Grange, which has no commonality to it
at all.
Right? And then J.D. Howard, Jericho Hill, La Imperiosa, Las Calaveras, on and on to where we are today with CHC Series E. Yeah. So had I not established that foundation of, you know, that almost being ambiguous, kind of like obscure, then I wouldn't have the creative latitude. I'd be stuck in that same hole doing Crowned Heads, right? So that's how we got to this point.
And I think, you know, a lot of that is amazing. And I think from a brand aspect or brand recognition or understanding the brand, you know, most people say that's suicide. Why would you do that, Jon? So what was it that made you say, I know for sure this is not what I want to do? And did you already have a master plan on some of the names that you wanted to use? And what was the significance behind those names?
I didn't have a master plan of the names. The first task was literally to come up with a name for the company. And that's when I started going, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And, you know, Mike liked some of the names. I disliked some. The ones we liked together, the attorneys wouldn't let us go with, what have you. And then one day I was watching The Wizard of Oz, and that's where I came up with Crowned Heads, because there's a scene in the movie where it says Crowned Heads of Europe, past, present, and future on the side of the caravan. And I was like, a screenshot of that. Send it to Mike, Crowned Heads, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, I like that. I'm like, okay. So that's as complicated as that got. So now we have the band established. The band name is Crowned Heads. I didn't want to have anything tied back to cigars. I didn't want to have Condor Huber cigars or CNH cigars, because I wanted to have the freedom to move past cigars, because really what was more important to me personally wasn't necessarily that we're a cigar company, but I wanted to be an aspirational brand. And by that, I mean, like, you have brands in this world that are more than what they just represent. Like, let's take Harley Davidson, for instance. That's an aspirational brand. A lot of people wear Harley Davidson t-shirts and all that, and they don't even own a motorcycle, but they aspire to that, what that brand speaks to them, to that rebelliousness, to that independent, feel, whatever. That's what I wanted Crowned Heads to be. I wanted it to be an aspirational brand. And that's why we came down with the mantra of carve your own path. We wanted to say, look, here's these two idiots from Nashville, Tennessee, can start a premium cigar company. Then, you can do anything you want. You can be a lawyer. You can start your own, liquor company, your own coffee company. You could be a doctor. You can go to school at night and become a nurse, whatever it is you want to do.
Right.
We wanted to inspire people to aspire to that. So that's why I didn't want it to be just about cigars. I wanted it to be bigger than cigars. I wanted it to be my biggest overall goal was to be an aspirational brand.
Man, that's amazing, because a lot of people don't look at it from that perspective. Like, I know for us, when just kind of on the creative side, when we was coming up with our brand name, we was like, what is different, right? I brought it back to a guy, and he was like, that's terrible, Jack. You need to go back to the drawing board, because that doesn't represent you. And it's funny how the more and more I talk to the founders of companies and Mongols in the industry, I start to learn a pattern. And it's like, we have to think outside cigars, because cigars are not just something that we just smoke and we just enjoy ourselves and whatever. It's to bring people together. And that's the culture.
It's the culture, really, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's something that was brought, that brings people together. Doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what your political views is.
Correct.
Doesn't matter, what your sexual orientation. It does not matter any of that things, because at the end of the day, it's meant to bring people together. So the moment you stop making cigars to bring people together, then that means that you're no longer very inspirational or personally tied to this. You're just a cigar manufacturer.
Right.
That makes sense.
No, it makes 100% sense. And I've always looked at cigars as like the common denominators, what I've always called them, because, in a way, like, well, I'm talking like kind of pre-pandemic, because there's still some whatever, but in a way, the cigar tobacconists, the lounges, have become like what barbershops used to be, where you can go in and you have that fraternity, that brotherhood, that commonality, and the common denominator is a cigar. Like, I could be sitting across from a guy I've never met before, and it's happened. He could be a doctor with 5 degrees from Harvard or whatever, but we can talk and we can vibe about, what are you smoking? No. What do you like? But you ever tried this Fuente? No, and there's that to go jump off of. And now you're talking, on the same playing field. We're not talking about, I'm not talking because he's a doctor and that I have nothing in common with. So, it's definitely the common denominator, and it's definitely a culture, and I love that part of the business. Absolutely.
Yeah. So so here I usually give this on the back end, right? We're very organic, and we're not big on having the same conversation, right? So, and what I mean by that is, you do podcasts all the dang time, and at the end of the day, last thing I want is you to get off of this one, go into the next one, and be like, oh my God, this same thing Jack just asked me on his. I'm not a fan of that, right?
Right.
So, and I know it happens all the time, and I just be like, what in the hell are y'all doing?
Sometimes I'm going to interrupt you and tell you a really funny story, and then go back on that track real quick, because I was at PCA like the day before you and I got together and started talking, and I had this literally like a 2.5-hour conversation with one gentleman from California, and he knows who he is, and we had the best conversation. We talked about everything, not just cigars, but we talked about art. We talked about the origins of hip hop. We talked about, real estate. We talked about coffee, everything. And I could just talk to this guy forever. And so we finally wrapped up, and I said to him, I said, man, Carl, I really appreciated talking to you, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. You're not like these guys that come up to me and ask me to tell them about the wrapper binder filler. I said, those idiots drive me crazy. Yeah. And we laughed like that. And so no sooner we shook hands, and I get up and I turn, and there's a gentleman standing right there. And he's like, hi, John, I'm so-and-so with whatever.com. And I was wondering if you could kind of tell us the wrapper binder filler. And I was just like, oh, no. And I felt like, God, I hope he didn't hear me. But yeah.
Well, the crappier part is if he did hear you and still went and had,
I know, right?
Asked the question.
I
It's
know.
like, did you not hear the conversation I just had?
I know.
Don't worry about it.
That's
but man,
right.
I think that's crazy. And I don't really understand why people do it. But it happens. It happens.
Yeah. Sure. I get it. It's just I like when the conversation is organic and we're just talking like just to talk, not necessarily talk shop about, wrappers and binders and fillers, which is fun. I mean, I get on with it, but it's like what people don't realize about this industry is like we're all using the same tools. We all have the same tobaccos that we're pulling from, really, I mean, if you took the bands off of all the cigars in a humidor, it'd be hard to really take them apart, right? To judge them apart and go, oh, this is this. There's like a handful that I could smoke blind and tell you what they are. Yeah. But other than that, I'm just like, so what differentiates them? So sometimes,
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go. I'm talking too much. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not at all. No. So what I was going to say is, one of my things that I have learned and just kind of studied, you can typically tell when you pick up a cigar, the brand, right? And the reason is like, for instance, AJ or Don Pepin, you already know when you pick up one of their cigars, you're going to get a lot more pepper out of them, right?
Right. Correct.
So one thing I have not been able to keep my eye on is what is the niche that you guys follow? Because from what I see, you never are going to get the same thing at the same cigar. So is that on purpose, or what is your palate?
That is the best compliment you could give me, because that's intentional. That is very intentional. I don't want to be put in a bucket like that's the niche, like it's all black pepper or it's all large ring gauge or whatever. I wanted to create this spectrum of different things in the cigar portfolio that whatever speaks to you, you might find something from Crown Heads in that range. If you like something mild to medium, that's kind of rich, creamy, with a little spice that goes good with coffee, hey, we got Luminosa. You want something that's going to punch you in the mouth and wake you up, we got CHE Series E. You want something that's in the middle of it all, we got Mil Diaz. I mean, it would be so like boring to create the same thing and just repeat the same thing and give it a different name 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So I like doing things that are different, that speak to me for different reasons. Yeah, we have no niche. We just try to create stuff that speaks to us, that I like to smoke, and that I think somebody else out there will vibe with as well.
Right. So speaking of the artwork, right? Not the artwork, but the way you position your brands and the way they come out is based on albums. So obviously everybody has, from the creative musical aspect, people, when they put out albums, they kind of they got a feeling attached to that album, right? Whether it's R&B, whether it's rap, whether it's country, it doesn't matter. It's either a sad, or we're going to turn up, or this was serious, or this was a hard time in my life. So do you have any brands that kind of relate to you album-wise, as you stated, that was maybe a representation of maybe how you felt that time, or, some of the characteristics I just stated?
I think they all, represent a certain time of my life or a certain chapter. It's, it's you spend so much time developing these things that you just go, oh yeah, that was, a year and a half of my life in 2019, or this was, you were in a certain mind space and a certain thing spoke to you. So they all have that kind of mental real estate as far as that goes, and then when people ask me, what's my favorite cigar we've done? It's, I always come back with the same cliche, like, what's your favorite kid? If you have more than one kid, is, what I mean? It's like they all have their own talents and they're all unique and their personalities are different. You don't love them all the same, but you do love them all at the same level. So that's kind of where I am with all the different, because I looked back and I was like, man, we have done a lot of shit over the last 10 years. And it's quite a catalog of work. And for the most part, they've all been, if they haven't been home runs, they've all been like hits for extra bases for sure. Yeah. I've had a couple that might have been singles or pop flies, but other than that, most of them been pretty decent showings. So
one thing I have have learned is like the Las Calaveras. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really something about that blend, right? It's definitely something that is amazing. It was a comment earlier. LC14 Robo was one of their best crown heads.
Okay.
So what's the mindset behind that one? That's kind of one that always comes up every year.
Right.
So what is that one pretty much? What's the basis behind that one?
So Las Calaveras is something that I wanted to do for probably since we started Crown Heads. The concept being that we paid homage to people that we lost the year prior, but not in a mournful kind of sad way. I wanted to like celebrate the lives of these people. And so that started. Yeah, that's
not to cut off into that. Are we talking about people we have lost, like influential people, maybe people in the factory?
It could be. We've had people like family members.
Okay.
We've had celebrities. We've had industry people. We've had, just anybody that kind of went like, oh, I mean, like this past year, we have like Kobe was on there on the yellow band. Kobe, Eddie Van Halen. Gene Tipton, who was in the industry, used to work for Altadis, and like dude that played Bond, I can't remember his name now.
I know what you're talking about.
Sean Connery.
Okay.
So that's a for instance. So those four people passed away in 2020, right? And so it every year we change it up, different initials, whatever, and sometimes we tell people who they are and but sometimes we don't. But anyway, that was the idea. The idea being that we celebrate these lives and the contributions these individuals have made, and that we change the blend up, we change the packaging up. Sometimes we change the sizes slightly, and it's never been the same thing twice. We started off in 2014. So this is like our 8th iteration, I think. Yeah. And, every one of them has been different, and it's had a different feel, a different flavor profile, and it's become a pretty highly sought after like annual limited edition release. We started off that I had no idea what to expect, but our first one in 2014 was 72,000 total cigars. That was the run, and that was it. And then we got to a place in like 2019 where we were approaching like 140 or 150,000 cigars. And I said, this is kind of getting ridiculous, because how are you going to call it? That's a pretty good annual brand for a lot of companies. And we're calling this as a limited edition or something. We need to dial it back a little bit. So I did. In 2020, we only did like, I think 72,000 cigars plus some samplers. And it sold out like, 2 or 3 days. Then we come up to 2021. And when we announced that one, we actually oversold it in 3 hours.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's no joke. I felt like Ticketmaster because I'm texting our national sales manager. I'm like, we got to call it. We got to tap this. Tell the guys to call it. Tap out. We got to cut back. Stop. So yeah, that was a little crazy, but it's fun in that we get to change it up. But it's kind of like I wish I didn't have to do it, because I wish, it's just I feel like the older we get, like the more these losses hit home a little bit. Because when you're young and you're a kid, you feel like you're gonna live forever, and you have like no concept of what 10 years means. And then as you get older, you're like, man, we lost another one, and some of them hit pretty hard, So Kobe was one that hit hard for me. That was one that was a gut punch,
bro. It hit hard for a lot of people. I mean, the fact of the matter, just like how you had AJ up there.
Yeah.
And you think about our daughters, and just imagine, the impact that had on the family. Like, I think it's Vanessa, his wife. I can see why she handled a lot of the things that she handled it with the media in the way that she handled it, because I mean, yes, he is iconic. Everybody knows Kobe. I mean, everybody knows when you make a shot and you make it, you say Kobe.
That's exactly right, man. That's what, because like when my son, who's now 21, but like when he was coming up, we had this little court in front of the house, and we would play one-on-one, and that was always the shot, like the turn around from the corner, fade away, you call Kobe, especially if you hit it, right? So he was the one that told me when he passed. That was a Sunday, I remember, and he sent me a text. He goes, oh my God, he goes, Kobe just died. And I'm like, what? And those just like, I was shocked. That's still like, 2 years later, I'm like, still freaks me out. But yeah, just the way he was with his girls and the father that he was and the human being that he was, just that one cut pretty deep. That's why we did the band Purple in 2020, because it was technically couldn't be on the band. It had to wait till the following year. So, but we did the coloration as purple and gold.
Is that why you did yellow too? Kind of.
No, the yellow thing was just that was inspired by a Cuban cigar, El Rey del Mundo. I always wanted to put yellow on a band, but I knew his initials were going to be on it this year. But the colorway was all about him last year. So
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But Jesus, that just took a whole dive into the deep slumps of sadness right there, didn't it?
A little bit. It's hey, it's part of life, right? It's the life cycle, but it's tough. It's tough,
So I have my opinion on what was kind of the turning point. But what, for people that sing your shoes, right? You look at like Michael Herlots, with Fero Tiago. Man, I clearly, labeled as a boutique brand, but coming with so much impact and power behind it, right? And I think kind of that's how Crown Heads was when it first started. You had already pre-established, but people were still like, Crown Heads. And so most of the time, it takes people 10, 15, 20 years to get, to brand recognition amongst its consumers. I mean, you talk about brands that have pretty much lost their touch with the consumer, like Macanudo and different things of that nature. It used to be great back then, but I mean, that's not something that somebody typically comes into. And if they, in the lounge and ask for, and if they do, you typically already know it's either they're older or they've been smoking a long time,
right?
And,
right,
whatever the case may be. So what would you say was like the turning point for you guys? Like, we have made it, to the point where you can say I had made 100,000+ cigars and sold out on a limited edition. Like, that's not somebody in a boutique brand. That's not what they do.
Yeah, I don't even know what boutique means anymore these days, to be honest with you. I think it's more of a feel than it is a quantity. But turning point for us, I mean, I don't know. We were pretty fortunate in that both Mike and I had established relationships in the business, because prior to his time with CAO, he had worked at General, and I had, a dozen years, 14 years or whatever it was at CAO. So we knew some people. So the doors kind of opened for us and got us on the fast track. But it's one thing to get that first initial, entree in, but to have the longevity where here we are 10 years later, still doing it and still relevant. That's the accomplishment. It's kind of like that when they say you're a 10-year overnight success story. That's really what it takes. I mean, you need to be doing it over and over consistently and keep hitting them over the fence before people start to recognize.
Yeah.
So like, all the best to Michael for starting out. It's tough. I mean, we all can start off with a little bit of heat, but are you going to be doing it 10 years from now? That remains to be seen. Only time tells. It's a lot of work. You got to put in the reps.
Well, me personally, I think kind of like the brand or the album, for that matter, because that's what we're going by. The album that was kind of like the game changer, in my personal opinion, was the Mil Diaz or the La Cocción, if anything. That those iterations, well, not even iterations, because that means it changed, but those cigars, I think, was like, okay, we're Crown Heads, and this is what we do. You know what I mean?
Right. It's interesting because I do find that there was a shift in the paradigm along the way, but I tell people, I'm like, I'm really appreciative and grateful that people are catching on to us and that business is great, this, that, and the other. But we're doing the same thing now that we've been doing for literally the last 7 of the last 10 years. Yeah. I mean, in 2014, I remember coming back to Mike and I said, hey, I got this idea. I called it the blueprint. And here's my blueprint. We're going to do this in this quarter. Then we're going to drop this the second quarter. I had it all laid out. And that was the blueprint. And it worked. And then we did the same thing in 15 and the same thing in 16 and so on and so forth. And so I'm like, I don't know why everybody's kind of like figuring this out like the new kid on the block, because we've been doing the same thing for easily 7 years.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily like figuring out like, oh my God, nobody knew about us. I just think, those were like the staples, right?
Right.
You look at the Lakers team right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You knew it before, when Kobe was there, Kobe, Shaq, championships, blah, 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 blah. And then Lakers break off. They don't really do anything, right? Not saying that you guys didn't do anything. It's just the contents of the metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then LeBron goes there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Lakers is back to the top. And then you look at the Lakers right now, you have Carmelo Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, you have Dwight Howard, you have all these names. It's like they still down them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they got destroyed by the Suns. No, don't get me wrong.
That's a long season though, man. That's a long season. So
very much so.
But
I think that's kind of what it was. It was like, Crown Heads have been doing this, doing that. But I think those is like, okay, bam. You know what I mean? Like this right here, it's no way we're not in no conversation. It's no way that you don't smoke this and say, I'm going to come back, or I'm going to come buy a box. There's no way that you don't smoke a Las Calaveras and be like, oh, I can't wait until next year. You know what I mean? It's just those things that are the deciding factors, the differential factors that makes it the change.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I think that to answer the question, if it was a question, that I think Mil Diaz was a very, I know, like when I smoked the final blend in January of 2020, before it was even called Mil Diaz or we had packaging or anything, I was like, I remember just telling everybody, game changer. This is like the little code word project. It's game changer because this is going to change the game. And initially, when it did come out in September of 2020, what made me convinced that it was going to change the game was that nobody could figure out the blend. Like all these little YouTubers and everything, one guy would be like, I've got the new Mil Diaz from Crown Heads, and oh my God, this thing is so strong, and I can't smoke it. It's too much. I'm like, what? Then the next guy would be sitting out there butchering the name, and he would say, yeah, it's just I'm not getting anything out of it. There's no taste. There's no flavor. I'm like, I don't. So there was nobody. I'm like going back to Luciano going, dude, nobody can figure this out. And I said, this is a great thing. He said, what do you mean? I was like, the fact that nobody gets it yet. I said, it's gonna ignite, and somebody's gonna get it, and then it's just gonna, and it did.
Yes.
It did. And when people couldn't pigeonhole it into a box and say, oh, it's this or it's that, then I knew we had something there, and it did. And still to this day, it's probably, if it's not our number one, it's our number 2 bestseller.
So John, outside of, obviously rolling, you said you started, so you were in sales, I take it, when you was with CAO?
No, man, I started off at the very bottom of the ladder. I started off as a shipping manager.
Okay.
So I literally sought that job out because I was falling in love with cigars, and I found out that, long story short, that CAO was in Nashville, I was in Nashville, and I went and I interviewed with John like twice, and he's like, oh, man, I really don't, I'm just starting out, and all I need is a guy to run the shipping department. I'm like, I'll be the best shipping manager you ever had, blah, blah, blah. It was just to get my foot in the door. And within 5 months, I was doing some stuff behind the scenes to promote the brand, and I showed him what I was capable of, and I was promoted to director of promotions and PR, and then eventually chief marketing officer, and the rest, I just went on and on and on. But that was where I started, really. It was just, back in those days, we were doing like the UPS log by hand, writing, dimensional weights and all that stuff, and I was terrible at it, I'll be honest with you, but it got my foot in the door, and I was able to parlay that into the next level. So I was able to level up from there.
And I think that's crazy because I think so many people want to, right now you're seeing such an influx, man. I talk to every single brand about this. It's like the influx of cigar brands that's being produced, and, people, some doing it the right way, some not doing it the right way. Some just wants, to reap the benefits of, everything that they have, that the cigar industry has to offer. But at the end of the day, it's not really, everybody just wants to be that guy. And it's like, nobody understands that some of the greatest people started off as tobacconists, or some of the greatest people start off as shipping managers, or some of the greatest people start off as a sales rep, so on and so forth. And it's like, you have to take the time to learn this brand. So pivoting off of that, what was like the most important thing throughout your growth process that you felt was instrumental and that pretty much brought you to this place that you are at now?
So John O. Osgener, the guy that founded CAO, rest in peace, he passed away a few years ago, was an incredible mentor in my life, not just professionally, but spiritually in a lot of different ways. And I would say the best lesson he ever taught me, or probably anybody that worked under him, he had this saying, just make it happen. And as simple as that sounded, we put it into effect. We were like, he's like, look, he told us the only thing that's going to limit you in life is you. You can make anything happen. You just got to believe it, and you got to visualize it, and you got to go after it. And I came to think that, like, if 100 people are in a room and they all want to do the same thing, usually about 90 of them are going to be too afraid to fail, and they're going to opt out. So now your odds are a lot better. And then of those 10, can you outwork the other 9? Can you work, and your odds are even better. So to me, it's like when people don't pursue their dreams or don't try to make it happen, as John would have said, it's usually because they're afraid. And, that was a huge lesson for me. And I'll give you a tangible example. We came in one day during The Sopranos on HBO, was just getting off the ground. And somebody in our office said, hey, they're smoking cigars on The Sopranos. It'd be kind of cool if we got CAO on that show. And John was like, make it happen. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And I was the guy that knew somebody, a prop master in LA, that I called him, and we were doing things back and forth. And, a month later we were on The Sopranos. So it's just, your only limitations are just by what you're afraid that won't happen. You know what I mean? Worst thing that can happen, you go for it. It doesn't happen. At least you went for it. But so many people are scared to go for it and fail that your odds are pretty good that you might be surprised that it's just going to happen. Right. So that was an example. And that was the biggest takeaway I got from John, was make it happen.
I wrote this poem recently, just putting thoughts into perspective, and it's called The Power of Thoughts. And one of my stanzas says, the thoughts of the mind must be thought out thoroughly. So don't think too hard, for you are bound to those thoughts internally. And when I said it, right, you think of the words. There was no, oh my God, that was, the words was, oh my God, so big, and I couldn't figure it out. It was saying that when you think you can do something, go do it. Because at the moment you think you cannot do it anymore, then you're no longer going to be able to do it.
Right.
And I think brand wise, I'm 30 years old. I own a cigar lounge. You know what I mean? I started smoking cigars 9 years ago when I was 21 years old. And now I'm a cigar owner. I mean, a cigar lounge owner. About to open up another lounge by my 31st birthday. I have two lounges. So you talk about, doing, just go and do it. Man, stop worrying about everything that is possibly could be going on, everything that could happen. I tell people failure is not in my equation. Failure is what is failure? And
by you saying that and putting that energy out there, it won't be. It will not be. It won't even be something to consider.
Because I tell people all the time, it's like, what is failure? When you're not scared of failure, what is failure? Failure is a mindset.
100%.
It's not something that you actually do. You feel in your mind that you failed, so therefore you have failed.
Yeah, I agree. I think when people, I was going to say, like, when people everybody has goals and like, oh, I want a nice house, I want this car or whatever, or this watch or what have you. But until you put that verbally, until you speak it, it's not real. As soon as you speak something and say, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do, and you put that out in front of other people, it takes on life and it becomes reality. I remember seeing an interview with Conor McGregor, and he just came up from the streets. He was poor, broke, couldn't eat nothing. He says, I'm going to be the UFC, MMA, I'm going to be the best in the world. And this is what's going to happen. and I'm going to make $100 million. Watch. And people would laugh at the guy, but he put that out there. And as soon as he put the words out there, he just kept believing it and reinforcing it in his mind over and over. Now look what happened. I mean, it's amazing when you see examples like that. That's so motivational to me, so inspirational to me when people do that. And so your words have a lot of power, and they can go both ways. You could go, you can go that way, or you can say words that are going to take you down that way too. So
the mouth is one of your voice, your talk, what comes out of your mouth has more impact on your life than the people that could be trying to stop you on the outside. The only thing that's going to stop you is from the stuff that's coming out your mouth. So putting that in perspective, was there ever a time where you felt like you did not know, where you felt like those words could have been coming out? And if it was, what did you do to stop them or change that mindset or that mind frame when it comes to you or your brand or whatever?
Never. And that's not exaggeration. I never doubted it once. I just knew, like you said, failure is not an option. That was just it. It's going to work. And I just never doubted it once. I've never had to like talk myself off the ledge and say, oh, no, you're going to be all right. It'll happen. I've never had to do that. I've always just believed it's just a matter of time.
Just time.
It's just time. It's putting in the reps. And, I'm a faithful person. And sometimes I think when we want things on our time schedule, that's not necessarily what God's timeline is. Mm-hmm. And so when you're faithful and when you come to realize that and you're okay with that, that's when you find peace. Mm-hmm. And that's when you're like, I'm okay with it. It's going to be fine. So, yeah.
And at that point, it's like, it's gonna work, right?
Yep.
Because you stated it, right?
Exactly.
So
100%.
I think that's crazy, and I think that's amazing, because a lot of people watch and they have hopes and dreams and aspirations to do things, but never go do them. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to happen if you don't?
Exactly.
Guess what? Lessons. I heard something say lessons. Success happens. Success. Nipsey Hussle said that success happens through trials or something like that. Trials happen from doing. I can't remember the
right.
terminology, but it was like success happens when you try,
mm-hmm.
but when you try, you learn, right? So if you never try, then guess what? You never will be successful, and you will never learn. Mm-hmm. So are you not going to try because you're scared that whatever the case may be may happen?
Mm-hmm. So, I agree with that 100%. Another lesson that I learned early on was when somebody taught me that just don't always just chase the bag. Don't chase money. Because when you're chasing money, where are you going with it, right? He said, follow what's in your heart and what you're passionate about. And if you do that, then you'll be successful. Because if you're passionate about it, then you're going to be good at it. And if you're good at it, the money will follow. Don't chase the money first. Chase what's in your heart, and the money will take care of itself. And that was a huge lesson for me. Because back in that time, I wasn't even 30 yet. And I was like thinking, how can I make the most money in the quickest way possible? Should I be a stockbroker? Should I sell commercial real estate? And I was miserable pursuing any of those things. It was not in my heart. And it took me a couple of years to figure out, okay, what am I passionate about? And then once I figured that out, and once I started going, and then that was a huge thing too.
That right there, that passion,
mm-hmm.
and following what your passion is, makes the job no longer a job.
Correct.
It's something that you love to do.
Correct.
It's something that you wake up. I mean, I wake up in the morning, John. I was in the Navy for 10 years. And when I tell you, I used to wake up and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Man, I gotta go do this, man. I can't leave if I don't want to. I wake up now and I look at my phone. I look at the transaction that happened but the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to smoke a cigar because I'm happy. When I come into work, I do order inventory, whatever the case may be.
Right.
I'm excited about it because at the end of the day, I'm doing what I love. And that is where the radiation happens, right? You start radiating positivity. You start radiating the light,
mm-hmm.
right? You start radiating an aura about you that it I don't need nothing. I don't need nothing from nobody, because at the end of the day, I'm happy what I'm doing.
And that was another Jonoism. He said, you know, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And that's something that was near and dear to me. It still is, you know, because I'm just like you. I'm blessed to be able to do what I love to do for a living, you know. I mean, yeah, it's a living, right? But it's still fortunate that, because listen, you don't understand these things unless you had the other side of it, like you just experienced. But I've had some of the worst jobs in my life. I mean, I had at one point when I was living in LA, I was literally living like on a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter for the week. And I was selling pet shampoo over the phone. Yeah. So I know what it's like to, you know, be on that side of it too. And it was horrible, you know? And so now I never take a day for granted, for sure.
John, you know, what's crazy is you said something about being a stockbroker or you said something, stock
commercial real estate.
Or of course, the thing about all of those,
yeah,
you still have to sell something, right? You need influx of things that you can sell. Right. But now look at you. At the end of the day, you wouldn't ever been able to tap into your creative ability if you did those things, because they'd be like, yeah, this property is for sale, and you know, they asking this. No, you want to negotiate? All right, cool. Like,
so I did it, and I hated it. It was not for me. It was like, I need that creative process, that creative outlet. That, to me, whether I'm creating a cigar brand or designing a hat or a t-shirt or whatever, I need that. That's what gets me through, is to create. So, man,
I wanted to tell you, man, I love that red hat you sent me, man.
Oh, I'm glad you like it, man.
Hey, look, cool. That thing is so tough. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Look, I wear ball caps a lot. Red, I'm really like a black ball cap or a white ball cap type. But when I look at that hat, I'm like, man, I gotta figure out an outfit to wear this. I gotta figure out something to wear this, man, because it's just so nice, man. But you're doing the damn thing, John, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Before we wrap up, because I'm gonna let AJ take some of your time.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just about to ready to eat some dinner here, so I gotta get her ready for school. That's all good. Yeah,
I understand.
I only took a bath.
Okay. And she needs to take a bath. Hey, so what is one rapper that you like to work with, and why?
Who would I like?
No, what is one rapper that you like to work with, and why?
Oh, it would. Well, if that's a tough mix. It's either gonna be Kanye or Jay-Z, because both of them, they go beyond just their art form. They're not just a rapper. They're entrepreneurs. They're businessmen. They're visionaries. They're doing hotels. They're doing record labels. They're doing sports agencies. They're doing huge inspirations. Both of those guys. It would be a coin flip. I mean, in terms creatively, I mean, I vibe with Jay more than Kanye, but Kanye's a brilliant man.
Man, how dope would it be to blend a cigar? Because you know Jay-Z smokes cigars.
Yeah, and he did a collaboration with General Cigar back in the day called God, what was it? I can't remember, but I had this conversation with a friend of mine who was in the music business. He was actually the president of Def Jam for years, and we've stayed friendly. And I told him, I said, I would love to do something. He asked me the same questions. I'd love to do something with Jay. And he says, well, he's already done it. I said, no, he's done it with the wrong person.
Man, come on now.
So I said, I'm the right person. I could do it. I would do it. I would do it right. I would do it justice. But yeah,
man, I would love to see, and I would love to see eventually you do something, a cigar that is kind of geared to him, and we end up tagging him so many damn times that he feels the need to smoke this cigar. From your mouth to God's ears, I would love to do that, man. I really, really would. That's definitely on the bucket list. Hey, you know what? I don't know Jay-Z, and I'm not going to sit here and say I do. Right. But I damn sure are going to try to make that happen, because I think you know, people like Jay have done so many incredible projects, man. You can even call it the Black Label. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Somebody probably registered it though. And that's one of my favorite albums he ever did too. The Black Album. That's like one of my favorites for sure. You think somebody trademarked the Black Label? I have never seen an all Black Label. I would. Well, check out our TA release we just did. Lost Angel. I did it all. I blacked it out. Yeah. But I mean, I think somebody. All right, I got to get going. All right, she's pulling me out. I understand, man. Brother. It was awesome chatting with you. Let's do it again. Man, most definitely. We're definitely going to come back here. I appreciate you, John, man. Hey, tell AJ I said hi again.
I will. Oh, baby, you okay?
Oh.
She's over here on the karaoke machine. She just fell off the stage. I kid you not. You all right, boo? All right. All right, man.
All right,
much
brother.
love. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. She's saying bye on her microphone. All right, man.
All right, hey, hey, look, you know what I love is at the end of the day, these people that we love to see, that we guard. I love that last part of our interview, right? Because it humanized us, right? It makes us human. It makes us realize the things that we love and the things that one is always going to stand by us. So when you look at those money, when you look at the money aspect, or you look at the business growth aspect, or whatever the case may be, you have to look at it from a perspective of what is priority and what are you doing it for? He clearly does it for AJ. He clearly does it for his family, man. And I am completely astounded, man. I love that guy. And he just gave me another reason to love him, man. So with that being said, thanks for watching the Virtual Smoke Deck. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give us a huge thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and follow the Virtual Smoke Deck Live on Facebook. Like and follow for all our upcoming videos. And then also go follow us at Dapper D Cigars on Facebook and Instagram for all the updated events that we have going on here at the lounge, because we do have a lot, man. With that being said, if you have cigar needs or wants or want to check out our Crown Head selection, go to DapperDCigars.com today. Man, next week we have a virtual smoke deck. My favorite is business and cigar talk. So we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about elevating. And I think I just got my inspiration today from John. Thanks, Wes, my brother. I definitely appreciate you. So I think I got my inspiration. I'm going to let you guys hear it on Sunday, but I think I got it, man. With that being said, I'm Jack the Cigar Enthusiast. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching, but I'm gone.